Welcome back to the Wildfiles, the podcast where we talk about the people side of MSPs without the corporate gloss. Because behind every service desk ticket queue, every escalation and every "we just need one more engineer," there's usually a people story sitting beneath it. And sometimes that story looks a little like the Wild West. No structure, no clear ownership, everyone firefighting, and the good people quietly wondering whether they want to stay in town. So today we're talking about what happens when a service desk, drifts into that territory. And more importantly, how leaders bring it back under control before it starts costing them their best people. Joining me today is the amazing Michelle Coombs, who has seen more service desks than most of us have seen hot dinners. She's worked with MSP teams on every stage of growth. She's run desks. She's done the scrappy startup desk to the mature operations, trying to scale without burning out their engineers. So Michelle has a brilliant way as well of cutting through the noise. We get on so well. And she really gets into the leadership behind, behaviours behind and underneath that chaos. So Michelle, welcome to the Wildfiles.
Hello, Jane, and thank you for having me. Awesome to be here today.
You're very welcome. So for those people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So where do we start? Jane? That's like one of those massive questions.
I know, it's a great question though.
One thing about all the different people, right? So we all take what we take from a question. It's like, what exactly are you asking of me? So let's start with a little bit about my personal background. You don't need my personal background at all. Let's talk about my professional background. So I started out on a log and plug service back in the late 90s. That's how long I've been involved in a service desk in some way, shape, or form. Back in those days, it was all log and plug. There was no environmentals. We were certainly not that we were using that were available to us. So it was literally a case of taking the details and passing it across to the engineers team.
Yeah.
And I used to get really fed up and bored with that. So I used to go, well, can you take the cables out and put them back in? Or can you reboot? Or could you try this? Or could you do something? Just so we've done a little bit of fault finding.
Love it.
And it got to the point where I ended up having my own little queue for me to go and fix things.
Nice.
Because 9 times out of 10, something simple would be able to be to resolve those issues. And then the rest would go to the engineers. And I'd also spend time with the workshop guys. They'd bring me up bits of kit to go and clean in, like the old printer or whatever it was to replace rollers and that kind of thing, which was great. So that was my starting block. And then I ended up like network engineer, exchange, admins and those kind of things.
Yeah.
All the way through. So it was a mix of technical and service desk. And I would flip between MSP land and customer land. So I was always keeping a view on the challenges that come with the MSPs about their customers and with the customers about their MSPs. So I'd always keep both sides of the fence. So we've all got massive learnings to be having across the way. So so that was my background and that's how I started.
Excellent. I love it. You're like me, little techie that turned into services. It's fantastic. Excellent stuff. Cool. So let's.
Sorry, I feel like I need one of the little backpacks. I can see myself like cartoon style, like trotting up the road, like on the journey.
Love it. Excellent. This is what me and Michelle are normally like. So you have many a time described some service desks as the Wild West. So my question is, what leadership behaviours turn a structured team into chaos? Because it happens. You see it happen.
It does. It so does. So for me, it's about things that would often lead to that chaos is a lack of ownership, unclear goals and expectations, unclear values, and people would be hired off values.
Nice.
Or when I say off valued, not OF, it's OFF. So they weren't a culture fit, they weren't a value fit or anything.
Yeah, with you.
Lack of processes. Letting bad behaviour slide on the desk, which would then impact the others. All kinds of things. And it was letting it slide and not taking a grip of what you've got and saying, right, this can't continue. how are we going to make it better?
Yeah, it's just carrying on with it and just pretending and
Spirals down, right?
yeah, absolutely. And you've got that wrong person, perhaps manning that, that desk, managing that desk, and you've got people higher up closing their eyes and pretending it's not happening. Before you know, like you say, it spirals. Absolutely.
Yes.
And it's interesting you talked about hiring off behaviours because that's, as you know, for me, that's huge. And it's hiring off those values, and those values become behaviours. And if you don't hire for those behaviours which come from those values, then it just becomes unsuccinct and you end up with toxic people. And it could take one person to destabilise that desk and turn it into the Wild West. And that person could be the service desk manager or your third liner.
Absolutely. And I bet you have seen that video that's doing the rounds on like TikTok and Instagram and all them kind of places, but where they've got this lemon that's mouldy and they put it next to another lemon and to another lemon and it all like mouldy all the way along. Now, of course, they're all going to get mouldy, but it makes it faster. So I bet you've seen that video.
And absolutely. And funnily enough, I wonder if that's where Daniel got it from. So Daniel came on the show a few weeks ago, and he talked about the greengrocers. It's the same thing. So if you had I don't know, a banana that had gone off next to another fruit or whatever, then that will then
Contaminate.
infect the other. Yeah. So it's quite interesting how you use the fruit analogy as well. There you
You
go.
know what we've all been watching, like.
Yeah. Absolutely. Brilliant stuff. Love it. It's great though. It's so true. It's exactly what happens. So when a service desk feels like the Wild West, like we've spoken about, it's turned into that Wild West. What does that do to new starters in their 90 days, do you think?
Once it takes the new starters in 90 days, either they enjoy it because it's like they can get away with murder
Yeah.
or pre-murder. Let's say do murder, not real murder, do
Yeah.
murder.
Yeah.
They won't get anything and everything and they can slip under the radar. So that's one thing. The other is that they leave because they're not getting what they need out of an environment. And what who is it? Maslow's needs of trust, is it?
Yeah.
Who's the hierarchy of needs? If you're not meeting those needs early on, they're not going to stay. So you're either going to end up with more toxicity, your good people are going to work, and that's going to impact also on the good people as well in the desk. They will leave as well if you're not meeting their needs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not going to be a good environment at all for them.
No, exactly. It's also probably not going to be what's sold to them at interview. I can
Oh God,
guarantee it won't be.
where it's like, oh yeah, it's absolutely awesome, and it's like, do you mind if I walk round first just so I can check for myself?
Make sure everyone isn't on good behaviour. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's almost like you think, shall I say to somebody to go like 2 days early to just go and sit in the car park or go and stand in well, we used to be stand in the smoking section,
Yeah.
right? Listen to the conversation. We don't have those these days. But that kind of thing, we could do a bit
Yeah.
of scouting, like,
Yeah.
and see what it's like.
Absolutely. You'll find out from other people that are working there. Just have a chin wag with them because you
Yeah.
never know. It's true. Absolutely. Cool. Brilliant. So, interesting on this one. And we've probably answered it a little bit, but we'll go for it anyway. So do leaders realise when their service desk is drifting into Wild West territory, or does it creep up on them? I suppose it depends on the leader.
What it does and how
Yeah.
involved they are. Typically, what would happen would your customers start complaining and escalating or niggling their account managers and saying it's not right and we've got issues with this, we've got issues with that, we've got issues with the other, and that kind of thing. So you get those escalations first. Now,
Yeah.
that for a while, and then your customers start leaving, find a better supplier, or something will come up that they're no longer renewing with you, and that kind of thing. So those are usually your telltale signs. Or
And
it's just escalations, but all your escalations can be
I was
absolutely.
going to say, yeah. Do you think it depends? I mean, well, leaders is quite an open role, isn't it? You know, you can have a leader of a help desk, a service desk, you can have a technical director who's a leader, you can have operations manager, or you can have a founder who's a leader. Depends upon on each of them, I suppose. It depends upon what directly impacts them or how much involvement they have with that desk to
Yeah.
understand when it's happening. Like Yes, how would they know?
So how if you was looking to put something in, so if you're a service
Hmm.
desk manager, for example, and you know something is not quite right and you want to get that message across to
Yeah.
people higher up in the chain that you want to take time to set aside and do some improvement initiatives, the first thing I'd do is probably make sure that you've got some metrics about the number of escalations that you're receiving on a weekly or monthly basis. Get that kind of data into a report and share it with your leadership teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else?
Data, not drama.
Yeah, data. It gives you everything you need.
Absolutely. I love a bit of data, not drama. It's always good. Don't let the drama take over whatever happens.
Oh God, no. So
So, if the Wild West, I just love the Wild
yeah,
West. I love it when you first said
yeah.
it. And Little Johnny, but we won't go into Little Johnny right in a
Oh,
second.
there's always a little Johnny in my
Love it.
in whatever like scenario I'm talking about. There's always a little Johnny, but I'm always called Little Johnny. Right? Some of them I've actually met, some of them I have not. But yeah, there's always a little Johnny.
Shall we
For any
explain?
Johnnies I do know, it's not aimed at you.
No, exactly, absolutely. But it does make me chuckle. So if the Wild West creates churn, what does the
Yes.
opposite look like? And I suppose from that, what does a well-led, stable service desk actually feel like? Bliss.
Yeah, I'm already like relaxing
Yes,
inside.
that's
I'm
it.
taking myself from like Wild West to like streamlined, calm, controlled service desk. So it affects everything. So you're going to end up with things like obviously we're on a HR podcast, but these staff are going to be happier. They're going to be clearer. They're going to know what they're working on. They're going to be given like goals that will stretch them. So, say for example, little Johnny, we're going to be liquid shoes today. Little Johnny has aspirations to work on a security stack for his
Yeah.
first night. So when you're giving him his goals and objectives for the year, here's your ticket volumes, here's everything that you need to do, here's your CSAT, blah, blah, blah. Do you
Mm.
know what? We're going to give you an objective that guides you, that's linked to how your career direction wants to be. That's a
Yay.
complete bumble of words, but you know what I mean.
I know, and I'm
It's
loving it.
applicational for them. Do you say, right, you want to go down security? I tell you what, we will give you the first part of your Cisco. You've got to finish it by
Mhm.
the end of the year.
Yeah.
Work with them, and we'll give you half a day of shadowing. So you link those objectives
Yeah.
with those staff and their aspiration and their career
Yeah.
dreams and all the rest of it, and it really catches some really good engagement. Never mind the fact that you're on the side, you're
Mhm.
bolstering that first line skill set to be able to handle those calls. So
Yeah.
when something comes in, they start stretching themselves, and you start building that talent pool for when your security bod's off on leave or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So you've got that little
Absolutely.
bit of coverage, that in-house growth, and all the rest of it. So that's good. So your staff are happier,
Yeah.
your customers are happier,
Yay.
you're scalable
Yeah.
because your processes are all repeatable and
Yeah.
everything is just like slick and just happens. You
Yeah.
can add in your automation because your processes are watertight,
Yeah.
so that those automation activities can just like be replicated easily
Yeah.
without causing a load of drama, as you say.
Uh-huh.
And which then reduces your operational costs, this is your customer retention.
Yeah.
Everybody's a winner.
It's just
Sorry, that was
absolutely
a big
fantastic.
waffle.
No, it's brilliant. Can you just explain it so well? And it's such a simple. I know there's a lot of different cogs to it, but it is such a simple system that as long as you get it right and you put one in place and the other, and it's looking after people. But it's if you get systems in there and you've got automation. The best rung desks I know have got a lot of automation and they've got engineers that are all the same. So their firsts can dabble in a little bit of second, or they do a little bit of cyber because that's what they're working towards. So everyone's kept happy, like you say, because their career aspirations are being looked after. So therefore they want to be there. Huge. The company's being helped because you're upskilling them and they're putting that back into the business, and you've got systems in place so everything runs smoothly. So you've got customers. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's such a simple system. I think what happens, and it's no fault of their own, is a technical person becomes a founder of an MSP. It does usually happen that way, and because of that, they haven't necessarily worked in ops or that side. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've all got our strengths and weaknesses, right?
Yeah,
And when we start a business, we do it because we're doing something we enjoy.
absolutely.
We don't do it for the marketing, the HR, the finance, the legal, and all that other stuff. Unless you are a marketing person, then you do marketing, but then you don't do
Exactly.
the IT support or you don't do the finance and all the rest of it.
Yeah, yeah.
One little thing though, Jane, just before you move on from this point, is back to little Johnny, and we talked about cross training and being able to have one thing that's really, really clear is that you don't let them train on a customer's environment.
Very pleased you
Just,
pointed that
just
out,
to be
Michelle.
clear, just want to just caveat that. Just when
In a controlled
like
environment, yeah.
you're in a training environment or a lab or something, just to make sure that it doesn't impact customers.
Absolutely, absolutely, and they're more confident when they do it that way as well. So that's great, and everybody's more confident. Little Johnny's not let loose. Not it's great. Not till he's a little bit bigger. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. Oh, getting a bit. Yeah, back to the point. So yeah, a lot of MSPs, or a lot of the small MSPs, certainly, as you say, come up from those technical roles because they enjoy doing what they're doing, and
Yeah,
there'll be a reason why they've decided. Now, all of them have got very different reasons why, but sometimes it's because they believe they can do a better job than where they're at the
absolutely.
time, which is awesome.
Yeah,
But
that's
then
why we all
they
run a
get
business.
tied up with running around fixing it, that
Mm,
they don't take that step back and go, right, is this meeting um, where I want my MSP to be?
mm.
So there's always that step back, reflect. And yes, it might be going good, but how can we make it better is always the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also having the confidence to know that you can step back from being in the business to being, as I call it, on the business, which I always think is a very strange term because you're not actually sat on it. But there we go. That's just my mind. But it's be able to take that step back and to let go long enough to know it's not all going to fall apart. Actually, you need to step back to see what you need to fix.
Really interesting, actually, Joe, that you mentioned that because being able to step out of it is if you think as well about if the owner is involved, you've got a 4, 5, 6 person team, you've got a technical founder, and they're still involved in the day to day, and they've grown it. What happens is things like the desk will want to log a ticket with a third party, but
Hmm.
only the owner is the person that's permitted to log it with the data center because they've got to have it's got to come from an email account or whatever it is. They
Yeah.
have their right, that process. Now, if they can't log a ticket with the data center because that owner is on a business visit, business
Yeah.
meeting on site, can't be contacted, on holiday,
Hmm.
flying, in a dentist chair, we've
Yeah.
been through. There's
Yeah.
a number of reasons why they can't do it, but that impacts the customer. So being able to take a step back and take
Yeah.
yourself out of that technical role so that people can operate and do what they need to keep the business and the customers going while you're not available is huge. And I think
Brilliant.
you'll find spot when they start looking at exit, one of the things to look at is how involved that founder is
Yeah.
and whether they've stepped away. And so interesting point you raised.
Yeah, it's a single point of failure as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
And if someone wants to buy the business, well, they can't run without them. So therefore, the value of it is non-existent. Well, not non-existent, but
yes.
not very great. Yeah, I don't know what the value of it, but I can imagine it wouldn't be very good, to be quite frank. So.
And you're out of it. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I enjoy when I do start. I've done one recently, actually. I'll get my words out. Is when you've got a founder who is that exactly what you've described, and has actually decided, and it's taken them, a long time to go, right. Okay, I need to step out of that technical role now, and I need to step back and bring somebody in, and that's a really enjoyable recruitment process to do, but also it's quite a fragile one to do too because it's such an important role. There's lots of I don't know. There's lots of nuances to it. It's an
But
interesting.
how do you find the right fit? So I'm in that position now.
Mm,
This is going way off topic, and
that's all
this is
right.
typically
We're
what
almost
Tim and
finished.
I
It's
do,
fine.
but it's kind of related. It's like from the founder side, as you're looking for that right person, you've got all of these gaps that you want to fill in terms of competence, so marketing, HR, finance, all the rest of it.
Mhm.
Then you've got to make sure that the right person fit. Now, naturally, we're techies, so we're not always the best human for peopling.
Yeah,
It takes a lot of years to develop that. So, are we the right person to even identify the person that would fit well with us? Um, so there's a whole list of it, and just making sure as well that you've got the right agreements in place. So there's a
yeah.
whole host of things that
It's a
racking around my
minefield. If
brain.
you
I
don't
should ask about this one day.
Yeah, and it's a minefield because you don't know it. It's the same thing, isn't it? This is my strength. It's not your strength, you know. So it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, but it is easier to have somebody else talk to you, pull out what they need because they can see from the other side of the coin and understand more about what's going to work. Whereas
Mhm.
because you're inside it, you're you and you're trying to get someone to what you won't necessarily get it right. And it's about complementing you as a person and your personality. It's not getting the same type of person, but it's also not making sure that they're, you know, not so far off that you just like going to be like chalk and cheese. You
Yeah,
know,
you gotta
it's
step.
having somebody perhaps, you know, that for me, like with Em and Joe, they're very system orientated. I'm not. I try
That's
to
it.
be. I try to be a big ideas person, and then detail bores me. But they're amazing at it. Um, and I think you need to look at that side of things, but it's also being very brutally honest with yourself about what you're good at and what you're not good at, and what do you need? Do you need a person to be in the business, or do you need it to be outsourced to another business? There's all different ways of looking at
There's
it.
many ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's
Yeah.
loads of ways. And the other thing as well to remember is if you are, I'm a natural introvert, I recharge at the end of the day by sitting in the kitchen when it's functional. Um,
We won't talk about that.
we'll go there. So, but yeah, I take myself out. I don't speak to anybody, right? But
Yeah.
you've got to remember that you're going to be, particularly as a small team, with these people all day, every day. So you need to make sure that you can get on with them as well,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because there will be
yeah.
moments when you rub each other up the wrong way because, hey, people are people.
And that's also good because you don't want somebody to be a yes person. So you want people that are going to challenge
Yep.
you and say, well,
Challenge you.
actually,
Yeah.
what about X, Y, and Z? You don't want people just to agree with you because that's not going to help you in any way, shape, or form.
No, not at all. And you need to get to, I think, well, for me personally, I'm quite a blunt person, as you know, Michelle. And I think you have to get to the point where you can turn around and say, that's a really stupid idea and not worry about offending each other. Because
Yeah.
actually, if it is a bloody stupid idea, there's no point beating around the bush about it because there's no point in spending the time on something that is
There's a
rubbish.
better way of doing it though, Jane. Is that right now that's a rubbish idea. But let's have a think about how else we could do that and just brainstorm it and then you might come up with a better idea.
Yeah, for me, I have to go away and reflect on it. And then I go, no, that is a stupid idea. I don't know. Sometimes I go down, I do the ADHD rabbit hole thing sometimes and go completely off on a tangent. But that's me. That's different personality types. Absolutely.
Mm.
But I'm trying to get
Awesome.
better at putting the systems in place for people. So you'll like that, which is good. It's a
Awesome.
work in progress. So Michelle,
What?
it's been such a brilliant conversation as always. And because
Sorry, I did waffle a bit.
no, nothing wrong with ball waffling. It's all good. Because, you know, when service desks feel chaotic, most leaders think the solution is another hire, another tool, or another process. But what we've talked about today is that underneath most Wild West desks, I like that, it rhymes, it's actually leadership, rhythm, ownership, and clarity that brings everything back into line. And when those things are present, everything changes. So new starters settle faster,
Mhm.
escalations become calmer, engineers stop firefighting, and suddenly the desk starts to feel like a place people actually want to be. So, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on the Wild Files and sharing your experience with us and for the laugh. We always have a giggle together. Love it. And how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably the easiest one is to search for Michelle Coombs on LinkedIn and look for the performance improvement specialist. I'm not the construction or the architecture person. It is the performance improvement specialist for MSPs. So you'll find me absolutely.
And stuff. And if you're not sure, just ask me and I'll point you in her direction. So that's perfect.
Thank you.
And to everyone listening, if this episode made you quietly recognise a few things happening on your own desk, that awareness is the first step to fixing it. So until next time, bring order to the chaos, lead with intent, and as always, stay wild.